everyone, my name is Susie Mixtreens, and welcome to another episode of What's Happening in the World. Today we'll interview three experts that have been keeping track of today's topic, the Syrian refugee crisis. But first, let me introduce you BBC reporter Wallace Timbleton that came straight from the UK just to take part in this fantastic podcast.
Thank you for inviting me tonight.
It's my pleasure to have you here. But you didn't come here all alone, did you? Let's welcome Betty Baxter from the UNHCR offices.
Good night. I'm so glad I'm here.
And at last, but not least, directly from Greece, we welcome Teresa Riddle, a Syrian refugee camp worker that will also help us understand Syria's situation.
Good evening, Susie.
So, let's begin with a vital question. Can you please tell us how did this problem begin?
Well, it all started back in March 2011 with a simple protest that turned into a civil war and then became a proxy war. But let me first explain why a small revolt ended up in such a disarray. But because of the amount of time we were given for this podcast, I will simplify it for you all. Syrians wanting to overthrow President Assad, Syria's governor, was the main reason of the protest, to which the president responded in a really violent way. And that's where it all began.
Sorry, can you please mention those violent actions that were taken by the government?
Well, he committed war crimes, ordered to attack the rebels, ordered to bomb indiscriminately with chemical and other types of weapons, and caused the deaths of many innocent people.
Yes, it's been almost a decade, and this war doesn't seem to be coming to an end anytime soon. With the entrance of the US and Russia, the end of this conflict only seems to be delaying.
And the status of their sustainable development goals just worsens the situation. For example, Syria's performance in the 2019 SDGs Global Index shows that almost all of their goals are unachieved and without a signal of process.
As you're describing it, this seems to be a very serious problem and a very dangerous way of life.
It is. People can't be safe in a situation like this. Their lives are in constant danger. That's why they migrate.
And where do these refugees flee to?
Well, their first option is to cross the border and seek shelter in the main Syrian refugee camps located in Jordan with more than 600,000 refugees, Lebanon with almost a million, Iraq with more than 200,000, Turkey with almost 3,600,000, and Greece with 50,000 refugees, according to the UNHCR Global Trends 2019.
So, once refugees leave their country, they get help and a much better way of life, right?
Well, one might think so, but there's an issue there. You see, millions of people have left Syria to seek shelter in other countries, but there is not enough money and resources to help them all. So they are put in refugee camps, where there's a lot of people and few space. They live with few food, no clean water, and exposed to outside temperatures. This way of life is not so different from what they had before in Syria, and on the reports of the UNHCR offices in Syria, only around 60% of their basic needs are covered.
And because of the low temperatures and the massive frost, their situation may be worse, right? But I consider that the most threatening current factor is COVID-19, the deadly virus that has the power of taking the lives of millions, but not the required strength to stop war and hatred of the world.
You're absolutely right, Sissy. The list of challenges they are facing has dramatically increased because of the current pandemic and the official entrance of COVID-19 in the Middle East region, reported in March of the current year as stated by Mercy Corps. Access to ward, health facilities, clean water, COVID-19 tests, health, and civilian infrastructure and protection resources seem to be unobtainable services for them.
And there are many things that may result from this horrible situation, just like violence, right? Any thoughts on this, Wallace?
Yes, I think that one thing definitely leads to the other. It's just like a process. Conflict leads to poverty, and poverty leads to violence, over and over again. It's an endless cycle.
An endless cycle that needs to find its exit way and to return Syria to what it was before destruction, rage, and war. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you, Wallace, Betty, and Teresa, for taking part in this informative and marvelous episode of What's Happening in the World. The situation in Syria is a tragedy that affects millions of people. War is cruel. It takes away everything you have: your home, friends, school, family. It takes away your life. The refugees are suffering every day, running away from their own country and looking for someone who will help them out of their misery. Syrians are starving. Little kids are left without parents, all alone. They're dying due to diseases, bombings, and starvation. These people have no home, no food or water. They have nothing. That's why we must help them in any way we can. Donate. And if you can't afford this, sign petitions. It takes just 1 minute of your time, and you could be saving lives. Please help us save Syrian refugees. This podcast was sponsored by Save the Children and the United Nations.